Welcome friends to a Halo Lore video. Today we look to the race of the leadership of the Covenant, the San Shayum, whose members include the prophets of truth, regret and mercy. And we're going to look at several aspects of them during this video. Why there are so few of them, for example, and what are they doing after the events of the fall of the Covenant to restore that. Those are some of the things we're looking at today. Let's get straight into it. The San Shayum combine in their representatives two aspects of leadership. There is the religious and the political side, both embodied in them. They feel that they are the embodiment of Forerunner-inspired doctrine, and there are no equals in other positions in the other members of the Covenant, not even a great one like the Arbiter. What they say, what they put forward about the Forerunners, is divine script, and their dislike of humanity, the Covenant's dislike of humanity, is manufactured, and this is done to maintain control of the Covenant. Now, the actual body of a San Shayum is pretty weak, but medical advances, perhaps using spin-offs of the technology of the Covenant, has allowed the San Shayum to live for hundreds of years, and a few of their kind were made into prelates. These are physically enhanced warriors who echo an ancient era of the species that existed prior to the Forerunners' manipulation. Now, if we delve into the past of the San Shayum at this point, they were once allied with the ancient humans. The Shayum themselves were genetically degraded and reseeded in Janjir Quam by the Forerunners after the activation of the Halo. They then slowly redeveloped over time, not knowing of their race's ancient past, something they share with the humans actually. And they established a religion that is all about the Forerunners, and it was linked to a massive dreadnought that had crashed at the centre of the Great Apotheia Sea. Now in 2200 BCE, two sects of San Shayum fought a vicious civil war over access to that ship, and during the conflict, a renegade group got into the dreadnought, activated that vessel and left the world, and that rebel group would eventually encounter the Sangheili, and there is the foundation forging point of the Covenant itself. And in the forging of the alliance, the San Shayum were put in as leaders of religion and politics, and the Sangheili arms and warfare. During the time of the Covenant, particularly when they meet the forces of Earth, the San Shayum were really embroiled in scandal and political controversy, and their bodies were becoming very infirm, but they continued in their position of power, despite being one of the weaker members of the Covenant and having so few numbers. One way they did this was the belief within the Covenant of the gods, and that the San Shayum spoke for them. Now, the original language that the San Shayum used had been replaced by Sangheili, but the San Shayum in return affected the Sangheili with their own culture, affecting things like clothing, architecture, and even religious practices. The trappings around the San Shayum at this time were very luxuriant and self-indulgent, but around them, especially when there were other Covenant there, things were rigid and austere and very strict. This, combined with there being so few of them, drove many San Shayum to forget about their original intent and to be consumed by personal ambition. Another aspect of their low numbers was that, with their dwindling population and gene pool, all procreation amongst them was closely monitored, I assume to see if it had been successful. And to go directly to the encyclopedia itself, the role of celibates restricted breeding and therefore directly impacted all social interactions, with structural manipulation and personal advancement being the main forcing functions for the continuation of their species. And now, after the fall of High Charity, the San Shayum are currently in a state of almost extinction. We'll cover a little more of that in a moment. Now, during the ancient era of their life, the blue-green world called Janjir Quam was the home of them. It held a diverse ecology and an impressive ray of life there. And it also held an incredible amount of foreign artifacts. And this is one of the founding things that led to the Sangcheum's deep religious culture. Once the covenant was established, trips would still be made there, so that the foreigner tech left behind could be exploited. However, the Sangcheum that were still on that planet, the natives as they are termed here, mobilised defences and violently severed ties with their distant cousins. And so the records of the Covenant say that their home planet and its moon, Pleion, were recorded in Covenant annals as being destroyed during a stellar collapse in 648 BCE. Many associate this recording and the fact that it is untrue with the deceit with which the Sangcheum are observed. And now we'll look at them after the loss of High Charity. What's happened to them then? Most Sangcheum at this stage have vanished from known space. They'd first gathered together the few of their number that would accompany them, and allies, I assume, from the other races within the Covenant. And they'd gone on a journey to a place called the Shield World of Cloister. And there they want to regroup, begin longer-term plans, and they hope one day to make a triumphant return. And the encyclopedia notes, paramount to their efforts is the search for foreigner gene forgers hidden within the installation's myriad layers, precious technology which could save them from extinction and thus, as they see it, return them to power. And friends, that's where I will end today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Drop me a comment down below.